From bizarre trials of dead clergy members to satanic scripture and clandestine dalliances with the Nazi regime, the Vatican's past is filled with far more rot and exploitation than you'd expect from such a tiny city-state. A symbol of holiness and power, the Vatican's ancient walls hold hostage stories that even the Pope might be unaware of. Stories of scandalous secret courts, unholy exorcisms, and records of alien encounters have lingered for centuries. And today we're going to pull the curtain on these and some even more unsettling realities the Vatican does not want you to know. Trial of the Dead. In one of history's most bizarre and chilling episodes, the Vatican conducted a trial not for the living, but for the dead. This strange event, known as the Cadaver Synod, took place in 897 within the Grand Basilica of St. John Lateran. The accused was Pope Formosus, who had been dead for 7 months. Pope Stephen VII, who had succeeded Formosus during a tumultuous period in the Church's history, ordered the trial. This was a time of extreme instability, with over 20 popes in just over a century. The charges against Formosus, even in death, included perjury, illegal papal ascension, and ruling over 2 places at once. However, Stephen's real motivation was a personal vendetta. Formosus had previously aligned with Stephen's rivals, Lambert of Spoleto and Arnulf of Carinthia. In a grotesque spectacle, Formosus's body was exhumed, dressed in papal robes, and propped up on a throne to face his accusers. A deacon spoke on behalf of the dead pope, but the outcome was inevitable. Formosus was declared guilty. His body was stripped of its vestments, his papal fingers severed, and all his papal acts were annulled. But Stephen's vengeance didn't stop there. He had the body buried in a grave for foreigners, only to later exhume it again and toss it into the Tiber River. There are a few accounts of his body washing up on the banks of the Tiber and allegedly performing some miracles. While this trial is among the most chilling in the Vatican's history, there are darker secrets still lurking within its walls. In fact, a hidden court deals with offenses so heinous that they defy imagination. Would you dare to uncover its mysteries? Secret Court for the Ultimate Sins. In the Catholic judicial system, some sins are so severe that they require their own tribunal. This is where the Apostolic Penitentiary comes in, a covert special unit within Vatican City charged with dealing with the most serious spiritual transgressions. Pope Alexander III founded this strange tribunal of conscience in 1179, and it remained hidden from the public until 2009. According to the Telegraph, this court deals with sins so seriously that only the Pope can absolve them. While regular priests can receive confessions of genocide, the Apostolic Penitentiary deals with more serious crimes. These include attempting to harm the Pope, priests violating the seal of confession by disclosing a penitent's crimes, and a priest engaging in an illegal relationship and then absolving the partner's sin. Through the tribunal's head, the Pope, known as the Major Penitentiary, either absolves or allows the automatic excommunication to stand. These proceedings are held privately and anonymously, with the goal of resolving personal issues rather than public ones. The obscurity surrounding these cases only adds to the allure of this clandestine Vatican organization. Vatican's Secret Archives. The Vatican's secret archives are a treasure trove of intrigue and mystery, covering 53 miles of shelves and containing records dating back more than 12 centuries. Despite the secret name, their existence is widely known, but access is strictly limited. Only a few people, including approved intellectuals and journalists, can enter after going through a rigorous clearance process. These archives have long sparked discussion. Whispers say they have evidence of extraterrestrial life, stunning truths regarding Jesus' existence, and other earth-shattering disclosures about the Catholic Church. The archives, which have been passed down from pope to pope since 463 AD, now release materials 75 years after their formation. This delay guarantees that sensitive data, such as those detailing Pope Pius's problematic participation in the Holocaust or the Church's abuse issues, are easily hidden for decades. The Vatican Apostolic Archives was renamed in 2019, yet the ambiguity remains. What lies within those antique shelves? Could they disclose secrets that could change history, or are the archives just a humdrum chronicle of church administration? For the time being, the general public can only speculate. But if you believe this is the Vatican's most closely guarded secret, think again. Behind closed doors, worse mysteries await. Exorcist Army, a battle against darkness. While science and psychology try to explain the unexplainable, the Roman Catholic Church marches to the beat of its own drum, armed with holy water and prayers. Exorcisms, those chilling rituals popularized by films like The Conjuring, are far from relics of the Middle Ages. Even in the modern age of neuroscience, the Church staunchly defends its practice of casting out demons. The late Father Gabriele Amorth, the Vatican's former chief exorcist, claimed to have performed over 130,000 exorcisms before his death in 2016. The Church's commitment to this ancient ritual remains strong. In 2018, BBC reported that 250 priests gathered in Vatican City to attend the annual exorcism school. According to church officials, cases of demonic possession have surged in recent years, with Pope Francis himself encouraging the faithful to seek exorcists for spiritual disturbances. Speculation swirls around whether Pope Francis has performed exorcisms himself. In 2013, rumors erupted that he performed one publicly on a man in a wheelchair. While unverified, it wouldn't be unprecedented. Father Amorth once recounted how Pope John Paul II attempted to exorcise a possessed woman who screamed and drooled uncontrollably. Amorth claimed her possession was so severe she defied gravity, walking up a wall. The Church's battle with darkness rages on, undeterred by skepticism. But if the idea of an exorcist army gives you chills, wait until you find out the truth about the most corrupt pope in history, who made a joke of his own religious teachings. Dark chapters of terrible popes. The papacy, long revered as a symbol of divine authority, has produced scandalous persons whose activities contradict the sacred position they hold. Over the period of 2,000 years and 260 popes, a few have gained notoriety for their outrageous behavior. Pope John XII is widely regarded as one of the worst. His papal tenure was marked by violence, gambling, and infidelity, gaining him a reputation as a reckless and immoral leader. Some historians even consider him the most immoral pope in history. Similarly, Pope Alexander VI, born Rodrigo Borgia, led the Church, bringing with him the infamous corruption of the Borgia dynasty. Accusations of murder, nepotism, and several illicit affairs marred his rule, turning him into a figure of controversy and intrigue. Perhaps one of the oddest occurrences in papal history occurred under Pope Stephen VI, who, motivated by a peculiar vendetta against his predecessor Pope Formosus, convened the infamous Cadaver Synod in 897 AD. This macabre trial turned the Roman population against Stephen, who was deposed and imprisoned after a public uprising. He was strangled to death in prison, and Pope Theodore II soon annulled the Cadaver Synod. But if you think that's all the corruption brewing within the walls of this holy city, think again, because the leaked stories we're about to tell you next will quite literally make your eyes pop out of their sockets. Vatican Leaks. The Vatican Leaks, often known as Vatican Leaks, function as a Vatican-specific WikiLeaks. This scandal arose in 2012, with leaked documents revealing horrible instances of corruption in the Vatican. All of this started with a television show called The Untouchables. Soon after, Gianluigi Nuzzi's book, His Holiness, The Secret Papers of Benedict XVI, revealed very contentious and intimate communication and memos between Pope Benedict and his personal secretary. The book disclosed a lot about the Pope's money, as well as stories of bribes offered in exchange for an appointment with him. The letters from Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano revealed massive corruption schemes that cost the Holy See millions of euros in inflated contract pricing. Aside from exposing power struggles at the Vatican and depicting the city as a hotbed of envy, political adversaries, and faction warfare, Vatican Leaks also disclosed a document documenting a conversation with Cardinal Paolo Romeo in which he prophesied the Pope's death within 12 hours. In addition to the financial misdeeds and a death threat, an internal Vatican probe turned up another problem. According to this study, homosexual clergy members of the Church were blackmailed by outsiders. Though none of that material was judged very dangerous, the reason for the frenzy produced by these leaks was not their content, but rather its accuracy. Pope Benedict described this information as false, inflated, and gratuitous gossip. On July 26th, all of Vatican City's leading authorities convened for a meeting, and 2 Vatican aides were convicted some months later. The Pope's personal butler, Paolo Gabriele, and Claudio Schiappelletti, a computer specialist in the Secretariat of State, were his 2 assistants. The Pope later forgave them. Legend of Pope Joan. Truth or myth? Among the many tales surrounding the papacy, none is as intriguing or controversial as that of Pope Joan. According to legend, a woman disguised as a man rose to become the leader of the Catholic Church. Known as Pope John VIII, her story begins with her fame as a scholar and teacher in Athens. She then went to Rome, where she became pope after the death of Pope Leo IV. However, her tenure came to a dramatic end when, during a public procession, Joan reportedly went into labor, exposing her secret. Shocked and enraged by the revelation, the crowd allegedly tied her to a horse and dragged her to her death. Some versions claim that her body was buried in disgrace, while others suggest she was erased from church records entirely. Despite its enduring popularity, historians have largely debunked the story of Pope Joan. Many believe it began as a critique of church corruption or anti-papal sentiment from medieval times. There is no concrete evidence to support her existence, and official papal records do not mention a female pope. Yet the tale persists in popular culture. It symbolizes rebellion against rigid church and gender norms. But what if some of their secrets are tied to something darker and older? Perhaps a sinister book, hidden deep in the archives, holds the key to forbidden knowledge. Satan's Spellbook. Deep within the Vatican's vast secret archives lies one of the most sinister and dangerous books in history. Le Grand Grimoire, also known as the Red Dragon. Written around 1520, it is regarded as one of the most potent occult texts ever created. Its alleged author, Honorius of Thebes, is said to have been possessed by Satan himself. The book is in Biblical Hebrew or Aramaic. Its discovery in 1750 in King Solomon's tomb only added to its mystique. The Grand Grimoire is feared for its dark content. It has instructions on making magical talismans, summoning spirits, and casting lottery spells. But it is most notorious for its terrifying ritual. It is a method to summon Lucifer and strike a deal with the devil. Many copies of this book exist. Experts believe they are either counterfeit or altered. This renders the spells ineffective. Still, believers claim that even these modified versions hold a certain influence. The Catholic Church has the original manuscript. Its location is a secret. The true power of the Le Grand Grimoire is elusive. It is hidden in history's shadowy corners. This leaves one unsettling question. Could it still hold the key to dark, forbidden forces? The Knights Templar transcripts revealed. A yellowed paper in the Vatican's vast archives holds the key to one of history's most intriguing trials, the 14th century persecution of the Knights Templar. This court record details the tragic story of a Christian warrior order. It was founded in Jerusalem to defend travelers under King Baldwin II and Patriarch Warmund. The Templars gained great wealth and power. This raised suspicions about King Philip, the Fourth of France, who saw them as a threat. Pope Clement V, under pressure from the king, investigated the order. He charged it with heresy. The order's full title, Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, shows its original aim. But as they grew popular, they became targets. Their secrecy, power, and riches sparked rumors, resulting in a harsh response. The trials began in 1307. Master Jacques de Molay, the Templar leader, was arrested on heresy charges. Many knights were burned at the stake in France, and others were sentenced to life in prison. Similar trials in England, Scotland, Ireland, Germany, Spain, and Cyprus had less severe results. But when we delve deeper into the Church's secrets, we may discover something far more astounding, possibly related to ancient visitors from beyond the stars. Alien encounters. In the 17th century, Pope Paul V ordered that certain Vatican documents be sealed, limiting outside access. It wasn't until 1881 that academics were able to view these documents again. Among the many rumors about these archives, one was intriguing. It suggested they might contain proof of extraterrestrial life and a link to the Church. Genrich Ludwig, a Russian scholar, is claimed to have accessed these restricted materials. While researching decades of European history, he found terrifying truths. Ludwig stated that the papers described alien encounters and their impact on ancient civilizations. The documents say that nearly every major culture, including the Egyptians and Mayans, made contact with aliens, but the disclosures did not stop there. Ludwig also found references to extremely strong ancient weaponry. One record said that the walls of Babylon were melted by a device that released massive amounts of heat and energy, similar to a current nuclear bomb. Though Ludwig never proved his claims, the idea of ancient aliens is still tempting. However, the Vatican has never verified the existence of such writings, raising the question of whether the Church is concealing evidence of a considerably bigger cosmic relationship. Crime capital. Vatican City, often seen as a sacred and peaceful enclave, has earned a rather unlikely title, the crime capital of the world. This tiny country, just 110 acres and under 1,000 residents, has an extraordinary number of criminal cases. In 2006, the Vatican had a small population. It reported 341 civil and 486 criminal cases. Most crimes were by the millions of tourists who flood the city each year. The crowds make it an ideal haven for petty thieves and pickpockets. But there's more to the Vatican's troubled relationship with crime than meets the eye. The small city-state is without a prison and has just one judge, which complicates the pursuit of justice. Criminals caught in the Vatican are usually handed to Italy for prosecution. This is due to a unique arrangement between the two nations. This setup shows the challenge of keeping order in a small place under the world's watchful eye. Yet the Vatican's criminal activity stretches beyond petty theft. The Vatican Bank, officially known as the Institute for the Works of Religion, has long been a focal point of financial controversy. The bank was founded in World War II to evade financial restrictions. It soon became a haven for money laundering and shady dealings, including Nazi smuggling. The Vatican has always denied wrongdoing. But for decades, there have been murky dealings around the bank, including ties to organized crime. And as the world questions the truth, it's worth wondering, what other secrets might the Vatican be hiding, and what role did it play in smuggling Nazis after World War II? World War villains. One of the Vatican's darkest secrets is its cooperation with the Nazis. It is well known that the Vatican largely stayed silent as Adolf Hitler and the Nazis committed horrific acts during World War II. However, the Church's role after the war is less understood. The Vatican did not simply stand by, but actively assisted thousands of Nazi war criminals and troops in escaping prosecution. After Germany's capitulation, many high-ranking Nazi officers fled to South America. They used escape routes known as the rat lines. The rat lines were not a single planned operation. They were a network of collaboration across many groups, including the Catholic Church. With the Vatican's help, some of the most notorious war criminals were granted asylum. This included Franz Stangl, who ran mass executions in camps, and Adolf Eichmann, Josef Mengele, Klaus Barbie, and Walter Rauff. These men, among many others, avoided justice with the Church's help. It was either indifferent or involved in their flight. In his book, Harvard researcher Gerald Steinecker reveals that some Red Cross members helped the Nazis by giving them travel permits. The Vatican helped these war criminals. Yet its archives are sealed. Important records are hidden from the public. Researchers have long wanted access to these materials, but the Church has kept them under lock and key. This leaves us to wonder how far this collaboration extended. If smuggling Nazis out of Europe wasn't a big deal for the Vatican, what makes you think they didn't smuggle what the Nazis looted? The Vatican used its power and privilege to help the Nazis launder the gold, art, and other expensive property belonging to Jewish families and other Holocaust victims. Gerald Posner of the Washington Post noted in an editorial piece that the Vatican is unwilling to participate in restitution efforts or offer up its wartime archives. Gerald reveals in his book, God's Bankers, that the Vatican may have been attempting to do something far more terrible than simply assisting Nazis in retaining the looted family heirlooms they had taken from the families they tortured and killed. Bernardino Nagara, the Vatican's financial counselor, was reportedly a spy for the Third Reich. He was meant to destroy the Vatican's wartime documents. Nagara and the Nazis established a system under which the Vatican invested in Italian insurance companies. These companies retained all the assets from the life insurance plans of the murdered Jews. As the Vatican was only an investor, They didn't have to pay a single penny they made in this scheme. Rwandan Tragedy, Vatican aids genocide. In 2017, Pope Francis made news by apologizing to the victims of the 1994 Rwandan genocide. The tragedy has long tormented the Catholic Church. Despite efforts to hide it, the Vatican could not avoid its role in the Rwandan conflict. Many clergy, including priests, nuns, and other church leaders, took part in the ethnic cleansing of the Tutsi community. Between April and June 1994, Hutu people took the lives of nearly 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus. This was sparked by the killing of President Juvenal Habyarimana. His assassination by plane generated extensive anti-Tutsi propaganda, sparking massive bloodshed. Ordinary Hutus, including many forced to turn on their neighbors, were killed. In a terrible violation of its sacred duty, the Catholic Church failed to protect Tutsi refugees seeking refuge within its walls. In August 1994, more than 5,000 Tutsis were killed at the Ntarama Catholic Church. In another crime, Father Athanasi Saromba ordered the destruction of a chapel that housed 2,000 Tutsi refugees. Father Wenceslas Munyeshyaka was charged with making a list of Tutsis to execute. Experts say that the church favored the ruling Hutus and indirectly backed the genocide by refusing to intervene. The Vatican Obelisk. The tall obelisk in the center of St. Peter's Square is one of the Vatican's most famous icons. Yet, its roots are far from divine. At first view, it resembles ancient Egyptian obelisks, and with good cause. This obelisk is from Egypt, but the Romans captured it during their conquests. Its presence at the Vatican is an ironic reminder of the turbulent history it has seen. It is over 4,500 years old, more than 1,500 years older than Rome. Emperor Caligula took it from Alexandria in 37 AD and named it Caligula's Obelisk. He originally intended to erect it in the Circus Caligula, later known as the Circus of Nero. It was a notorious venue for chariot races and executions. St. Peter was crucified upside down there in 64 AD. Eventually, the obelisk was moved to its current location in St. Peter's Square. Interestingly, it is the only surviving obelisk from ancient Rome. However, its origins remain a mystery. Experts cannot definitively determine which pharaoh built it. This adds to the mystery of its past. What is more unsettling to some is this: a relic stolen from Egypt bears the scars of centuries of conquest. Now it stands as a defining monument in Christianity, at the heart of the Catholic Church. The obelisk riddle, like many other Vatican secrets, is simply the tip of the iceberg. If you find that intriguing, wait till you hear about the chronovisor. It's another secret technology the Vatican has kept for centuries. Jesus was married. The rumor that Jesus married Mary Magdalene and had children has been circulating for a time. There is supposed written documentation supporting this outlandish tale. A 6th century manuscript is considered a confirmation of this notion. It was translated from Greek to the ancient language of Syriac, and during this translation, the story of Jesus Christ's marriage was discovered. This was never mentioned in the Bible. There are detailed accounts of his birth and death, but the 30 years in between are wholly ignored in the Bible. The manuscript is a genuine item from the British Library, but no one knows where it originated or when it was written. The book also asserts that Mary Magdalene was God's daughter and a co-redeemer of humanity. Essentially, it indicates that she was as significant as Jesus, which obviously does not sit well with the Vatican. After all, the Holy See has done everything it can to whitewash Jesus. Some historians believe Jesus may have led a conventional human life that the Vatican does not want us to know about. Window to the past. The chronovisor is a mysterious device. It lets its owner see past events, giving a glimpse into time. Father Pellegrino Ernetti claimed to have helped form it between the 1960s and 1990. He supposedly used the equipment to view Jesus Christ's crucifixion firsthand. Father Francois Brun's 2002 books shed light on the claims about a device. However, no proof has emerged to confirm its existence. A Benedictine monk, Ernetti, allegedly hid the chronovisor. He confided in Brun in the early 1960s. Ernetti said 12 notable scientists, including Fermi and von Braun, created the gadget. The machine was to be made of cathode rays, antennae, and metals. They had to catch sound and light at all wavelengths. It wasn't a traditional time machine, it was a window into the past. It lets the team record historical events. Ernetti claimed to have witnessed historic events. These include Cicero's 63 BC speech to the Roman Senate, the founding of the Roman Empire, and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Despite no physical evidence, Ernetti maintained until his death that the chronovisor existed. He said the Vatican had hidden it for safety. The device's discoverers are now gone, but the Vatican is silent about its mystery. Could the chronovisor be real? But if it is, why is it kept secret? Tell us what you think in the comments section. We hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more.